have 5:30 to 7. And first I want to say thank you for being here tonight. I know you're taking time out of your busy evening, your busy lives to do this, so I thank you, and it's quite a good turnout. Second, I want to thank you for giving me the privilege and honor to represent you on City Council. So thank you for that. I want to introduce a few of the folks up here so you know who you're looking at. First, we have Randy Royal, who is our fire chief. Randy's going to talk a little bit at the beginning about the fire that was recently on the Air Force Academy and our fire department's role in putting that out. And there'll be a chance for some questions. And Randy's going to give you some information on, hey, how do we know what's going on over there when we see smoke? Christian Nelson, next to Britt, is with Colorado Springs Utilities, and Colorado Springs Utilities played a role in suppressing the fire, and we have some infrastructure over there which was threatened. We'll talk a little bit about that. Corey Farkas has the enviable task of talking about Woodman today. Corey is the head of roads, right? And so he can explain, I was at the Peregrine HOA meeting a month or so ago and gave you my answers on what's going on. And he knows it in better detail, and I believe I promised that we would try to get Corey to talk to us tonight. And then finally, after we do that, then we're going to move on to kind of what I want to happen is for you to have the opportunity, we'll have a microphone, to just speak, kind of citizens' comments and ask questions. And that can be about whatever it is that is on your mind or is of interest to this area of the city. And Britt Haley is far left over there, and Britt is the head of Parks. And she has been kind enough to be here tonight, really to listen, not to necessarily answer questions. She may say a thing or two, but that's not her role tonight. We do have, and this just got released on the Park Department website, frequently asked questions about the Blodgett Open Space Master Management Plan. So it's questions that I have asked Parks, and they've come up with answers to those questions. Those questions generally have come to you, from you to me, and we have some answers. I'm going to ask Alex to go ahead and pass these out. So if you're here as a couple, we have 40, so if you would just take one, we'll get most of them out, and then they're all on the website too. So if you can pass some out. And so with that, first thing I want to do is just talk, like City Council 101, because it's easy, I think, for citizens to get mixed up between City Council, County Commissioners, school districts. There's all those numbers and what is what. So there's 9 folks on City Council. 6 of us represent specific districts, 3 are at large. You always get to vote for the at larges, and then you get to vote for your district rep. That's me. District 1 is this area up here in the northwest where we are right now. But it does extend all the way over to Academy. Even on the other side of it, UCCS is in it. It goes all the way down to Pleasant Valley down there. This is Fillmore down here. District 2 is the whole very north part of the city, and that's Randy Helms, the council president, represents that. District 3 is down to Broadmoor in that area, just below us, District 1. And that is Michelle Talarico that represents that. District 4 is down here in the southeast part of the city. That's Yolanda Avila that represents that. 5 is Nancy Henjum, the center part. 6 is Mike O'Malley. All these district reps I just went through will be up for re-election, not this coming April, like next month essentially, but 1 year from then. So the only one you'll get to vote on is yours, but you can talk to others in the city about, hey, this is what I know about the others, and you can make recommendations on who to vote for and who not to vote for. The 3 at-larges will be up to, 2 years after that, they're up for re-election. So I think that's helpful. It's not county commissioners. There's 5 of those, that's different. What else before we get started? with that, I think I'm going to hand it off to Randy Royal, who's going to talk about the fire on the Air Force Academy. And again, a big part of that to me is how do you get information? How do you know what's going on? So here it goes to Randy.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Well, thanks for the opportunity to be here and speak with y'all. Good news, that fire is really all contained. You might hear it's still like 90–95% contained. But really what that means, they're just going after hot spots within the burn area. The other good news about it is you don't have to worry about that burning in the next couple of years again. That's good for you, it gives you a little bit of buffer to the north side. So a little bit about the fire. So that was a Air Force Academy jurisdiction, right? So we have mutual aid agreements with Air Force Academy, Fort Carson, all the bases, and then all of the departments around us as well. If they have a fire that is going to go outside of their resources to manage, they'll reach out. And so in this case, they called for us. We were there, we were called very early on with it. And actually our PIO, 2 minutes before we were dispatched, started posting out on social media that there was a fire up there and trying to get as much information as possible. So we ended up sending 8 units up there. They were there for the bulk of the next 2 days. And we sent some command staff to help assist with Air Force Academy's command staff in the incident command post. And part of that is they don't have as much experience dealing with those type of fires, and we have a lot more experience doing that. And so it's just, you know, they may respond with us someday when we have something like a plane crash or something like that, where they have more experience in it to help us out. It's just helping each other out. So it grew pretty fast, went from about 5 acres and ended up being, I think the total ended up being about 168 acres that were burned. Mainly in grasses and scrub oak, some trees. It helped us where it started to go up the slope of the mountain, and there was actually some rock cliffs out there. The first day, we weren't able to use aircraft because of the wind. Second day, we were able to get 3 helicopters out there, and that helped put a perimeter on the side of the mountain where it's really dangerous to put firefighters at. So with that, I know somebody, especially in this area, be going like, why didn't we use like Everbridge or Peak Alerts and send out a notification, right? So we want to be cautious about that because we don't want to over send out notifications to where it's like prime wolf, right? If we had felt that there was any threat to you all or to anywhere in this northwest part of town, we would have started sending those out. There's a couple things to that. Peak Alerts, how many are signed up for Peak Alerts? All of you need to be, so I've got some handouts, so sign up for Peak Alerts. So that goes through a platform called Everbridge, and that will call you or send you an alert on your phone. There's another level that's called iPause, and iPause will contact everybody within the designated area, including people that don't live here. It'll ring out to their phones. That one, though, we can only use when there's life threats. So there's some federal laws about that. And then also, at the same time, when our PIO has the information about these things, they automatically right away notify the media. So one of the things you can do is go to the radio, go to the TV, probably the TV, and look and see what they're saying about that fire. And we're going to be continually updating them from what the information that our PIO is getting from command, and with where it's moving, what direction it's going, those type of things. Now, the other thing I want you to be aware of is during, like, this fire is a good example of it. We're in constant communication with the National Weather Service. So we knew there was a front coming in, and it was about, I want to say 10 or 11 o'clock at night. It was going to bring increased winds. So that has an impact on the amount of resources, because typically at night, we'll lay off some resources because the fire lays down. It's dangerous to work at night. And, but in this case, we keep a few more units on there in case the wind does kick it up. It didn't really change it, but we try to keep that communication going, so awareness, so we know what's happening, and potentially, if we need more resources, we can get it. And we weren't the only, like I said, we sent 8 units. We weren't the only fire department on there. There were some from other communities around us, like Cimarron Hills, Monument. I think Black Forest had a unit up there as well. So it's a good example of us all coming together when we need to. The other thing is, and you might have heard about this about a year ago, we've established in our area here, we've been using it for years, but really put some formalization to it, and it's called the Pikes Peak Mutual Aid. We have units every single day, so there's a list today of units from not just our department, but other departments that are committed that if they get a call for a strike team, so a strike team is 5 or 6 brush trucks or 5 or 6 fire engines. If we get that call, which happened during this fire, and we actually ended up doing it twice, we got 2 strike teams, all those units are ready to go and have to get out the door in a specific amount of time. And that speeds up the response. Because we've had times in our past where we would ask for mutual aid resources, and it might take 45 minutes to an hour to get them out the door, and that's what we don't want. We want to be responsive and able to move quickly. While he's doing that, I did bring some of these that have the ready, set, go on it, COS ready. And the first one on there is the peak alerts. Please, please, please get signed up for that. That will not only notify you about fires, but if you have an active shooter in your area, it may be a shelter-in-place notification that you're going to get. They'll notify you of things that are beyond the normal day-to-day. We had talked about it in Councilman Donelson. I met with him in council a couple days ago. When we have a fire like that, that's an example of one. Bear Creek would be another one where we have more smoke than you normally see, right? You're probably going to see in the future, we're just going to send out a general alert to the city, just as awareness. That doesn't mean you're under any threat or any concern, because you'll know we're going to be notifying you, and you're going to see police officers in your neighborhood, and all that's going to happen if you're under a threat. But this just gives you an awareness, because on that fire, pretty much everybody in the city can see the smoke, right? And we know that raises angst. So we're going to be working toward doing that so that you get that notification. But understand, what we don't want to do again, and this goes back to the crying wolf, we have lots of smoke plumes go up every day in the city, whether it's a house fire or a small grass fire or a car on fire. We don't want to send it out every time, because then it just becomes white noise, right? So we're managing it to your safety, and we're gonna make sure that you're in the know when you need to be in the know. Also on here is going to know your zone. And you can go, it used to be called Zone 8, but it's called the Genesis Project now. And go to COS Ready. You can go in there and you can see your zone. And you can actually, if there's a fire going, it's going to be plotted on there where you can actually see the fire and what zone it's in. If your zone is under evacuation, it's going to be a certain color. If it's under pre-evac, the notifications are in there and there's more information in there. It's a good tool for you all to be using. I looked at it today and I could see the fires down in Texas on there. Yeah, please sign up for both of those.
We've got 10 minutes for questions for Chief Royal, and Alex will get the microphone, he'll hold it for the rest of the folks. If we want to spend more time, we can, but it's going to take away from the others, from the road, and from basically citizen comment regarding anything you want.
I'll be real quick. Thank you for what you do. We lived through the Waldo Cannon fire, and my name is Barry Ship. I'm at Ridgefield Net.
Appreciate it.
Some people can't tell this thing. Everyone understands. So just a couple quick things. One thing that we were really aggravated with on Ridgefield Avenue, and a lot of my neighbors were too, is we got like fire tourism up there. So like people wanted to make videos or whatever the heck they were doing, they were flooding up there. And we're looking at that and saying, holy cow, they want to expand Blodgett Open Space and 50 spaces up here. What's it going to do to first responders? What's it going to do to emergency egress? We have to do it. So that's one thing. Other really quick thing, I'll give somebody else a chance, is one thing that was a little frustrating with this situation, and I suspect it wasn't any fault of you guys at all. It sounds like you guys did amazing work. But I suspect because the base was in charge, because it was on the base, there seemed to be a dearth of information. So we were watching the news and all those other feeds you were talking about, X, social. Quite frankly, it was pretty sparse. And I suspect that's because the base was in charge and they were making the calls on what gets released.
So, yeah, well, and I'll speak to that. So it is, whosever jurisdiction it is responsible. So like we can't put out lots of information because it has to go through their incident command and their PIO. We try to assist with that, and our PIO is up there, but it is, we're a little bit hand-tied by that. But I can tell you, we're not going to hesitate. If we know it's going to be moving into the city or toward the city, it doesn't matter. We're going to.
You gotta see it.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Oh, PIO is public information officer. Sorry, I said.
Hi, my name is Liz. I just want to echo exactly what this gentleman said. My house backs up to Woodman, and the amount of traffic, it looked like I-25, and I actually counted. And normally on Sunday, even if it's nice, there's traffic, they were speeding up there and pulling over and taking pictures, and then my reaction was exactly that. If that wind shifted, we need to get out of there. Those tourists would not have been a good thing. So
yeah, that's. I mean, I think that's a great reminder. I'll talk to Chief
Yeah.
Vasquez with the police department and see
Yeah.
what we can do to
and
help out with
the
that.
same thing with if Blodgett has all that many more people up there if it's expanded. So it was a little scary for a
Yeah, no,
while.
I appreciate that, but that's good input.
Any questions?
Did they say how that fire got started?
It's under investigation, so I can't really speak to it at this point, and it'll take a little while to really pin it down.
I was just wondering with how they're wanting to develop Blodgett Open Space and putting 180 car parking lot. And I don't know if you all want to raise your hand if you were here for Walden Canyon Fire, but it was an absolutely frightening experience. There's been a lot of additional building. And what I'm wondering is, in the fire department, has there been anything to address evacuation for the area? Because there is a large population of people who live here, and if you bring in an additional 500 or 600 tourists, and one of the little brochures are talking about it being available 10 months out of the year, and wanting the kind of attendance that Garden of the Gods gets, which is 6 million people a year. And this is a very confined area, and especially those people in Oak Valley, which very rarely gets recognized in all of this, and on all of the maps, Allegheny is the word Allegheny is never on there, which would be the roads to get to Blodgett Open Space parking area. All of those homes, that's their only way out, is to go down And we went down Orchard Valley, and it was a total bottleneck, and it was absolutely frightening. We had hammers coming down on our car, and that's when the population was less than it currently is. So I guess I feel like the fire department really, really needs to look into that aspect of this portion of the development, because it is a danger to the community.
And we do look at that, and we do, so if you go back to Walden, we would do things a lot different than we did in Walden. A lot has changed. So just the evacuation tool that I was talking about is way different. So I was right in the middle of all Walden. I was there for 6 days straight, including Peregrine over here. So we that one day ended up evacuating about 32,000 people. And basically from Fillmore all the way up to the Air Force Academy, from I-25 all the way up against the mountains. That would not happen today. And the reason is we're going to be very, very specific. So in that same area, there's now 100 of zones. So back then it was like, we're just going to do this whole area and evacuate. This would be very specific to, and if you go to that site I was saying, you can see the zones. It might be 10 zones, but it's way, way, way less amount of people, and it would be calculated in how we're doing it. And so with that, obviously, if you do get the evacuation notice, leave. If you get pre-evac, prepare to leave. If you get pre-evac in any situation, or even if you smell smoke and know there's a fire going, and you have like animals, horses, pets, or you have somebody that's in your home that has special needs, that needs more help, I would leave them. Just because those situations take longer. We're going to help you as best we can. We're going to give you as much information as we can, but you all have to be prepared as well.
Yeah, I think we got time for one more question, and then we're gonna. I'll say a couple things that I think are important from what Chief Royal just said, and then we'll hear from Christian Nelson about CSU's part in that fire.
Are there any plans to widen the roads to get us out of here? We had 4 lanes of traffic, a lot of pending right now.
Woodman Road
We had
needs a
shorter
big
lanes going
improvement.
east-west. Didn't move.
So that was your question. Is there any plans?
Is there any plans to widen getting us out of
Hold
here?
that until before you talking roads. Any other fire questions?
That is a fire question.
It is, but we'll just give it, we go roads. There's one all the way back.
Hi, so I appreciate this pamphlet and the information on it, but my concern is that it's not available to the larger community. And so in the time of an evacuation, how would other people know when to evacuate? Would you notify them through mobile devices?
Yes, yes, through the Genesis project, through the evacuation, really at the exact same moment, which is just a few minutes into us deciding, any of our incident commanders, any of our chiefs out there, and even our company officers, if they pull up to the situation and go, we need to evacuate now, it's going to be a phone call to dispatch, or I mean a radio call to dispatch, and within minutes, that is going to go out under this system, which is, again, different than Waldo. It goes out on Everbridge that I talked about. It goes out on iPods, which is will hit everybody, whether you're signed up for this or not. You'll be able to see it on the platform on the computer, and it goes out to both social media and hard media at the same time. So the TV stations, our Facebook, Twitter site, it gets blasted out. So there's opportunity to see it all over the place.
Thanks. Thank you all.
So, thank you for the round of applause for Chief Royal, and thank you, Randy, for being here tonight. I think an important thing that he pointed out was in Waldo, it was everybody go now. There's 100 different, little zones in here now, which will help them stagger as people go out. And I know you want more than that, but that is an important piece. I wanted you to hear it directly from Chief Royal, because when you watch the news, a lot of times they take a 15-second snippet out of what he says. So at least today you had a chance to ask questions, hear it directly from him. You can send emails to the fire department or to me, and I can forward them on and get more answers. He did say he's going to talk with Chief Vasquez. Just 1 minute, ma'am. He's going to talk with Chief Vasquez about maybe we send PD up here when there's a fire in the area, even if it's on the academy, to prevent people from coming up here and kind of clogging the roads up. Go ahead. Go ahead and speak in that so everybody
I
can.
just wanted to say that that's not true that everybody left at once. We were evacuated in Parkside and in the surrounding areas by Chiquita that weekend. So that was not that everybody was leaving all at once, because we were already out. So, and that whole area did burn down.
Okay. And I am speaking in generalities.
Okay.
Again, I have the
Well, I just
expert
want to
here.
make sure that everybody understands that, because, even though there was a larger evacuation, there was quite a few people that were already evacuated and out. So,
And I appreciate that. And something that came out in these last land use votes that we had Monday and Tuesday of this week is it's kind of interesting. It really falls on, honestly, city council to decide what is safe and what isn't safe. Fire looks at it from, can they get into the fire and fight the fire? What is, right? And that's why in this ovation development, which was approved by city council, there's only one way in and one way out. All those homes now have to have a sprinkler system inside, which is good if it's a fire in a house, right? Because that sprinkler system will come on. It doesn't cover two ways to evacuate out of there. That's really up to council to look at that and decide, is this safe or not? I voted no on that. There was one other councilman that voted no on that. The others voted yes. So that's an important thing for council, and that's important for citizens to know where to put the pressure on development. So it really should be on council. You know, it's kind of strange, but it's not the fire department to decide if the evacuation thought or the evacuation process is adequate. So I don't want to stick on one topic for too long. I'm going to let Christian come up and talk just for a few minutes about CSU and that fire, and then we'll go on to the roads. We will take a question or two on this if you have one.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that Colorado Springs Utilities has infrastructure on the Academy campus. We have our Tesla hydroelectric plant, and we have 2 water treatment plants. This particular fire came within 100 yards of our hydroelectric plant. It actually damaged some of the poles, the wire poles that connect that plant to the grid and power it. So it was on a generator for, well, several days. As of today, everything is back online. The water treatment plants are, and the hydroelectric plant is back online. Colorado Springs Utilities also has a wildland firefighting team that supported the event. We have had 25 utilities employees that work from across the organization, and then when called upon to support wildland firefighting, they drop what they're doing and go support. So we had 25 utilities employees also joining with the fire department and the regional fire agencies. And they're, of course, running equipment, plus, of course, 14,000 gallons of water taken from the Tesla reservoir by the helicopters when they were deployed. So that was utility.
Okay, are there any questions for Christian?
I have this part.
Okay, no questions for Christian, and that's good because we're a little bit behind our schedule. The other thing I'll say, just with what Randy was talking about, is, and you guys know this, I mean, this is part of the city that probably should be signed up for peak alerts more than any other part of the city, because there's a lot of fuels over here to burn. And I will tell you, in 25, there's going to be fire mitigation in Blodgett, in that area, with that thing that passed, the fire mitigation fund. Citizens agreed to let the city keep part of a Tabor refund, which you were due. The city kept part, and now we have a fund of money to be spent for thinning out timber and getting rid of brush and stuff like that. So in 25, you'll see stuff being thinned out in the Blodgett area. It's not part of parks, it's going to be part of fire mitigation. And that did generate a question from the back, so Alex, you got to run. And then we're going to...
Two choice, no problem. All right, is that going to include any cleanup of the dead brush that is already up there that anyone can easily hike to?
Yes, I expect it will.
It's been sitting there since 2012,
Yes,
and I buy it like
good,
twice a week.
Good. And I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. If you can send me an email, I'll forward that on to
I sent an email to everyone on the council about my concerns regarding the open space.
If you can send it again to me, I'll forward it on to the mitigation guys. Because again, my role is I'm not an expert in each of these areas. I'm kind of the jack of all trades, and I represent you. So I use you to tell me that, hey, there's brush up here in Blodgett that's been sitting there since 2012.
All right, I will be sure to send the pictures then too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Will that fire mitigation include any controlled burns?
I don't think so. If you want a definite on that, I'll ask. Yeah, I going to hand this over to Corey Farkas. I asked Corey, and this is what I wanted to do tonight, is get the experts in front of you. I asked Corey to come and talk about Woodman and just general road information for you.
He's a big guy.
Be gentle. Just be gentle. All right, before I get going on roads, really quick, I do want to piggyback since we've all been talking about fire. A lot of folks don't know, but our operations and maintenance division within the city also has a wildland fire team. We've got a rather large team, actually. I think we've got upwards of 15 now. Equipment operators that are red card certified, and we work under Colorado Springs Utilities and their wildland fire team. We actually had 9 operator firemen that responded to the fire up at the academy. A lot of people say, why would you have equipment operators as firemen? There were 2 dozers that were deployed to this fire to help out, and our equipment operators are able to utilize our lowboy tractor trailers to go pick up these dozers, deliver them to the fire, and operate them in a fire zone to help with fire cuts and things of that nature to help put out the fire. They're also fully trained as a wildland team and can partner up with FD, with CSU, with anybody to go through the brush and mitigate and fight the fire. So we have 9 of our own folks out there responding to this fire as well. So, all right, roads. I know everybody's interested to hear about what we're doing on Woodman. So Woodman Road is West Woodman Road is a part of our 2C maintenance program that we'll be getting to here in the near future. I'm sure all of you have seen the concrete contractors that are on the far east and starting on Pre-Oak Lake concrete. They will be working to the west to get that Pre-Oak Lake concrete done. We're hoping to get around that first corner and then start on that straightaway, where we'll be actually partnering with traffic engineering and engineering to add some infrastructure. So that south side of the road, we'll be getting some curb, gutter, sidewalk. I heard a question about widening. We'll hit on that in a minute. We will not be fully widening this road. We are a maintenance outfit. We will be widening in some sections of the roadway, and then we'll also be adding a bike lane on the north side, I believe, if I remember correctly, of the roadway, so that the cyclists have a designated spot for them to ride their bikes on. Now, 2C is a maintenance program, so widening the curb gutter and sidewalk, we replace in kind. The curb gutter and sidewalk that is not there that we will be installing, we don't pay for that as a maintenance outfit because we replace it in kind. That's why we partner with engineering and traffic engineering so that they can pay for those sections out of their funding sources, being a capital improvement. Now, to save dollars, we can utilize the same contractor moving through the corridor, but we will keep 2C and those capital improvements separately as we go through and do those. So where we're at right now, obviously we started the maintenance portion of the concrete. We are meeting with engineering to finalize their plans so that that contractor can continue to work through. And then Colorado Springs Utilities will need to come through that corridor and perform cathodic protection. They'll be drilling down, finding their water lines, and adding anodes to them so that they don't corrode prematurely. So they'll go through and do their protection. And then at that point, we'll be able to come through and pave. And so folks are really interested in timelines on all of this. Now, we're hoping to get all of this work done if all of the stars align. West Woodman is right now slated to pave in 2025. If we can get the concrete work done, we'll touch on that in a minute. We'll touch on that in a minute. If we can get the concrete done, get Colorado Springs Utilities through to do their work, there is, and we've got funding at the end of the season to do so, there is a possibility that we will be able to pave this late season this year. Again, all the stars have to align for that to happen. Now, I heard the comment, it's not going to make it. This past fall, I'm sure I probably answered an email or spoken on the phone to pretty much almost everybody in the room at this point. Last fall, we we came out and we were asked to do something. We had, there were boring contractors with fiber that had come through. There were multiple different contractors out here doing some work, and not to mention the roads obviously been in need for quite a while with maintenance, and so we needed to come out and do something to try to get through the winter. What we ended up doing, and it was a late season project that popped up, we used our in-house resources to come out, and we tried to put what's called a skim coat over top of the roadway. It's a leveling course. It's commonly used within the industry as a short-term fix for roadways that need it. We were trying to get it through the winter. And what that is, it's a half-inch layer of asphalt that goes over top of that. Again, it was late in the season. It was in October. Mother Nature through the winter is exacerbated. We were fully expecting that to start to rattle or start to peel. We weren't expecting it to happen at the rate that it did through the winter. So we're having.
It was just partially done. It was like somebody spread peanut butter with a spoon.
Okay, so when we had no plans to come out here and do this, right? We were actually asked by the community to come out and do something late in the season after all of our programs were already planned and in execution. So we were using very limited funding that we had in our piggy bank to try to get this done. Okay, it was again supposed to be a short-term fix. So what we're doing now is we're talking internally to come back out, hopefully in the next few weeks as the weather starts to get better and we start to dry out just a little bit, to try to get a mill on that segment and try to take just the top layer off so that we've got a smoother surface. Now, this is also a little dangerous to do because once you put a mill on a roadway surface like that and you, what we call, open it up, if we do start to get some additional moisture, we're opening that roadway up to what we call getting blown up, right? That moisture starts to get into that open surface and we start to get more and more potholes, right? And so we have to be very careful in how we approach this, but we need to do something, we understand that. And we have plans to come out and do something in the next few weeks. We also have to try to plan it to where we're working around the concrete and Colorado Springs utilities work so that we can make sure that we're making the least amount of impact as we can. So there are plans in the works to get that kind of smoothed out for everybody so that it's a better ride. And then obviously the longer term fix is in the works as we speak to go ahead and get this roadway maintained properly and get a brand new roadway.
You know, as you mentioned, kind of long-term question. Thank you for making sure.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you don't call all the shots, but it seems to me that, you know, I've been an engineer for 4 years, not a road engineer, but other engineers, and it seems to me, you know, I travel a ton of places, I drive places and visit family in other states and all over the country, and we got some of the most hurting roads in Colorado Springs that really throughout the country. I mean, we don't look good. I mean, for the affluency of our town, I mean, we're terrible, frankly. And I know there's conditions here that stress it, you know, the sun, you know, the temperature variations, night and day. But it makes you wonder, are we really using the right material? Because I see them go and do the material down on all these roads, not just Wood, throughout the whole city. And we seem to get about 2 years, and they're going to dust. And so I'm scratching my head going like, are we using the right materials? And do we have the right foundation under the roads? Or are we doing just like short-term and constantly chasing our tail?
Great question. Great question. I'll try to answer it as succinctly as I can because this is something that we could probably sit down and talk about for about 3 hours, right? And so, are we using the right materials? The answer is yes. So we are using the same asphaltic materials that they're using in any other part of the country. There's different oil mixes that are utilized
Is concrete with the added question?
So concrete, that's asked a lot. Concrete is an extremely big capital investment, right? So we have asphalt roads everywhere. If we were to go down and put in concrete, it would be extremely expensive. Now, maintenance on the concrete over your first 20 to 25 years, it is a lot less. Now, our community, the way it was built well before any of us were here, Colorado Springs Utilities has all of their utilities under our roadways. In a lot of communities, they're behind the curb and gutter, right? And so they're in that parkway, they're easy to get to. All of our utilities are underneath our roadways, so anytime Colorado Springs Utilities needs to maintain their infrastructure, they're digging into our roadways to do it. If you have concrete roadways, it's more expensive for them to do it, right? And so rate increases and things of that nature happen when things get expensive. And then when we have cuts in concrete, now we have a maintenance issue. So concrete, we've kicked that around for years. It's just not a good option for us as a municipality. Right, that's right, because of the things we're dealing with. So, but to answer that short answer, we are utilizing the right materials. We're even utilizing some of the latest materials. We're putting Kevlar fiber in a lot of our asphalt now. We've been experimenting with it for over the last couple of years. That's supposed to slow down the cracking because of the environment that we live in with freeze-thaw and this extreme sun, all of that. We can put down a brand new roadway. You gotta remember, we're only putting 2 inches across the top. If you have 6 inches of asphalt, if it's cracked all the way through, those cracks will reflect through at some point. Because of our environment, those cracks can come through within 6 months. That's why we have to go into preventative maintenance with crack seal and slurry seal and chip seal and things of that nature. So we're experimenting with new products, with the Kevlar fibers. They seem to be working pretty well and extending that time that those cracks come through, but they're still going to come through.
We need to do more like what we did on Vindicator Road, where you guys put it all the way down.
Right.
You know, it's short
So that's a great question as well. That's right. That's called a partial reconstruct, right? So we are taking down now. This goes back to do we have the right foundation? So years ago, our regional paving spec allowed full depth paving over native soil. So contractors, developers, whomever, following that regional paving spec that we had at the time, did not have to build a composite section with base and layers and put asphalt over top. They were able to go ahead and blade off the native soil, stabilize it with a chemically treated subgrade, and then put a thick layer of asphalt over top. Not, in my professional opinion, a good way to go. We have since, when I came on in 13, just a couple of years later, we took that out of the regional paving. We said, no more. This is because I have a vested interest. I have to maintain what these folks put in. So we took it out. We're no longer allowed to do that. We drew that line in the sand. However, we have to maintain everything that was put in. That whole eastern corridor with the wide crack issues that they have over there is due to that issue. And me and my folks are having to deal with it at this point. So we are using the right materials. We're dealing with some issues that when the city was built, maybe not the right base, and we're having to fix things like that.
Blodgett Space, Open Space, we're talking about money.
I'm not going to talk about that. So again, we are using the right materials. We have some difficulties out there that we have to deal with. If we take it all the way down and do that reconstruct with the fabric and everything, the roadways that we're able to do within 2C would be cut down by over 3/4. That's what we're looking at on the cost of this. So we're trying to do as much as
Let's let someone else.
Or I have a question back there.
Okay. So Alex will be the one that has the microphone, waiting for him to ask a question.
You mentioned that utilities are under the roads, and so on Woodman, are the tin utilities in there already, or is that going to have to create another tear up after those are in?
So the utilities are already in there. When utilities comes through and does their cathodic protection, they've got their water lines that are under there, and we have corrosive soils in the springs. Those corrosive soils start to eat away at those water lines, right? Those older water lines. So what they're going to do is they're going to come in and they're going to put anodes on those water lines that send electrical charge through that metal, and it postpones the degradation.
I'm just wondering
wondering about the team project, because if they're part of utilities too, aren't they?
Oh,
The
as
team.
far as I know, we try to coordinate with all of those folks because, they're coming through and potholing roads, and we can put in a brand new road, they'll come through and pothole it, and put those lines in. So we're trying to coordinate as much as we can with, I think there's 14 different contractors that are putting in fiber throughout the city at this point. And we have to coordinate with each and every one of them. As far as I know, they've already been through the corridor. But that doesn't mean that another one can't come in and go through the corridor. So we're always trying to stay ahead of that with the coordination.
In general, that doesn't go under the road. That's paralleling the road along the side of it. Sometimes they do drill down, and I forget exactly why when they cross under, but that is, Corey is really talking about water, wastewater, yeah, those are the things that are under the roads.
A couple of things. First of all, do a great job. Appreciate you coming. I want your job. The Woodman Road needs potholes. We need a full-time crew out there. One good story, I had a pothole on my street. I typed into the Go COS. 2 days later, it was filled. It was great. Perfect. I appreciate it. Did a lot of curb and gutter in the Peregrine area over the last summer, but only did some streets. Are you done with the curb and gutter in the Peregrine area, or are you going to be coming back in the spring to do more because there's some areas that need to be done? And also, is that just a precursor to eventually getting everything paved?
Yes. So we've got 2C, and that's our primary source of funding for our pre-overlay concrete and our paving. In fact, my budget, when you take a look at my budget for this year, $116 million to do maintenance within the city, over 2/3 of that comes from 2C. We also have our PPRTA funding. So what came through in Peregrine and did some sidewalk, curb and gutter, ped ramps, was some of our PPRTA funding, right? Anytime we do concrete in an area like that, that is a precursor for paving, okay? We have also taken a look at our next iteration of 2C. We've got two, it's every 5 years, there's a 5-year sunset. This is something, again, it's over 2/3 of our funding for maintenance, roadway maintenance in the city. This is something that needs to continue, and so we're looking at that next iteration and what that's going to look like. When you take a look at our city, 85% of our roadways, we have over 60, I think we're over 6,600 lane miles of roadway within the city. Over 85% of that is in residential neighborhoods. So the first iteration of 2C, we wanted to focus on the arterial roads, all of our main roads. 2C2, what we're in right now, year 4 or 5, was really starting to get into the neighborhoods, but was more of the collector roadways, getting you from your street that you live on to the large arterials. The next iteration will be focusing 95% on all of the residential roadways. So all the cul-de-sacs, all the small roads within these neighborhoods. Now, there's a lot of them to do. So we've done really great work with 2C. We still have a lot of work in front of us, but we're working on planning that program and getting into the neighborhoods to get those neighborhood streets done. Now, appreciate you mentioning about the potholes. And I tell folks, our pothole crews work really hard to try to get out there and fix potholes when they're called in. That's really just treating a symptom, right? It's like taking a Tylenol when you're sick. To get to the cure, that's where 2C comes in and being able to pave these roads. So once we get to West Woodman and we're able to get all of the infrastructure in and then pave it, that's a road we won't have to come in and park a crew with a pothole truck on for a lot of years to come. So
nobody else gives any other money for roads.
we have other funding sources. So we've got our general fund funding that funds all of our in-house crews, and that's going to go towards our operating goes towards.
What percentage of the city budget you are?
I wouldn't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
I wouldn't know off the top of my head. We've got a bunch of slides that have all of this stuff on it. So we have general fund funding, we have a small CIP account, we've got PPRTA, and we have 2C. 2C makes up the bulk.
Where you want to just mention about maintenance and effort, the city was spending this much money.
Yeah, absolutely. So with 2C and PPRTA, we have a maintenance of effort that we have to keep up through the general fund. So 2C is in addition to, not in lieu of, the monies that we were putting in from the general fund. So we have a $2.7 million maintenance of effort that we must maintain from general fund every year within 2C. I think this year we hit 3.6. We've far exceeded our maintenance of effort every year with 2C, and then we've also got maintenance of effort through PPRTA that also has transit and some other things mixed in with it that we meet again every year with our general fund monies.
Hey Corey, I think you might have slightly just answered the question I was about to ask, but I live in the Peregrine neighborhood. I understand you have a third-party company that rates the streets on a 100-point scale. My street was rated, I was in an email chain last year, it was rated at 26.3 by this third-party company. And if I understood correctly, it takes somewhere in the high 30s to qualify for chip seal. So where do the funds come for streets like ours that are deteriorated past the level that 2C is going to be able to chip seal?
Okay, so let me just clarify real quick. We do have a third party that goes through every 3 years. They drive every road in the city. They give the city, I'm trying to use the city, sorry. They rate every single roadway in the city from 0 to 100, 0 being the worst road you can imagine, 100 being a brand new roadway, right? So initially in 2C, we were targeting anything, and that's called, it gives us an OCI, an overall condition index. Great, right? That's that number, 0 to 100. We were targeting roadways initially, we were targeting roadways from 30 to 70. Those are the roadways that you want to pave. Anything over a 70, you can put a preventative maintenance measure on, crack seal, chip seal, slurry seal. That's keeping your good road good. It's like changing the oil in your car. So anything over 70, we were using PPRTA funds to do those preventative maintenance measures. 2C was targeting everything from a 30 to a 70 on the arterials and collectors, and then below a 30 was considered kind of a reconstruct, and it needed subgrade work, something of that nature. They were going to be more expensive streets, so we really wanted to kind of target the roadways that needed a mill and overlay. As we've started getting into the residential roadways, we found that something at a 26 or a 30 in that neighborhood can utilize a mill and overlay. So we've actually, for 2C, for the next iteration, have lowered that threshold at the bottom from a 30 to a 0. So we're targeting anything from a 0 to a 70 to include on that next program. We've also, after we got, we're actually starting our third iteration of these inspections. They start in April, this company, Geospatial, Marble Geospatial. So we'll have another group of data. What we've done is we've taken that data to create our list, right? And we go to residentials, we separate out the 0 to 70s, and we make this initial list. Then we've sent inspectors out to do a visual inspection because we've got roads up here that are being targeted for the next round that are a poor pavement quality, but a functional concrete, right? So we have a two-headed monster here. As we've gotten into the residentials, concrete's gotten worse and there's more of it. Through the last several years, we've seen incredible increases in concrete costs, so it's gotten really expensive to do concrete. So we want to be able to prioritize roadways that really need paving because they're poor pavement quality, but they have a functional concrete quality, so we have to do very little concrete. So our concrete contractors can get in, get out quickly, and then we can pave those roadways. So we do have many roads in this neighborhood, in this area, that are targeted for the next iteration of 2C that are functional concrete and poor pavement. What that means is they'll be towards the front of that list as we start to make that list.
Two questions, if you'd be so kind. One is on that flat part of Woodman, on the west side, you talked about the potholes. Would you talk about the drainage, which I see as a bigger problem? And secondly, do we need, as a community, to come to grips with the fact that 2C may be a permanent program and a permanent tax?
So what we're doing with engineering, I believe, on that west side, as we start to put in all of the infrastructure that they're looking at putting in with some of the curb and gutter and sidewalk, is going to address a lot of the drainage issues that you see. One. Two, in my humble opinion, I think 2C is something that really can never go away. And what I see and what I deal with, what my folks deal with every day, is the largest municipal infrastructure in the state of Colorado that we need to maintain. And a lot of people don't quite realize how big this monster is. The only entity within Colorado that has a bigger infrastructure than Colorado Springs is CDOT. The state.
The Ronald Reagan quote, "There's nothing so permanent as a temporary government program." I appreciate everything that's being done, and I think you're right. Every voting on it every once in a while, and the implications that you get into it, I think you're right.
And so I think Corey said it, 2C is going to be on the ballot in November, whether or not to extend it. It's going to be, it could be on there for 5 years or 10 years, they're still figuring it out. The thing about not making it permanent is that it always gives the citizens a chance. If your mayor and city council start spending the money on things you think it's all going to bicycle lanes and it's all going to other stuff, then you could say, okay, we're not going to redo it. But it is a critical piece of keeping our roads from getting worse. And the other thing is that maintenance of effort, I think that's important to understand, that prevents city government from stopping spending the money we had been spending on roads and saying, well, we have this tax, we'll just use that, and we won't spend what we used to for the general fund. We have to continue to spend at least that in order to meet the obligation which we made to the citizens. So you'll see it in November. I think it is important. I can't imagine that I would not support that. So I'm going to hand this back over to Corey.
And real quick for clarification, for those that may not know in the ballot language, 2C is a dedicated funding source. So it can only be utilized for maintenance within the right-of-way. So curb, gutter, sidewalk, and then our paving right-of-ways.
Corey, along Woodman on the north side, what we used to call the county side, some of those ditches are 4 feet deep. Are they going to get covered for the safety of the bike riders that are going to be riding there?
Yes. So when we come through a roadway similar to this that doesn't have curb and gutter on that north side, for example, we'll come through with the mill, we'll mill it, we pave it, and then we will address the shoulders within that process to make the shoulders safe as we can. The issues that we end up running into with our shoulders is it becomes a constant maintenance issue right after a big rain or something of that nature. And those are times when if there's an issue and you call, and we'll come out here many times to address them, we will come out and spot fix those issues.
So I've got a question for you. Sounds like you guys have a lot of projects on the horizon. Is there a place where we can go, or like a website where we can track these timeline of events as you guys make progress?
Absolutely. I like this question. So if you go to the City of Colorado Springs website and go to the Public Works page, we've got some really cool stuff that's actually coming out. We've got a 2C page that's attached to the Public Works page. We have operations maintenance, and you can go in and look at snow removal and all of the core functions that we do in-house. Then you can go to the 2C page and everything that we've done. All of the meeting minutes from all of our 2C committee meetings. We do have a committee with members of the community. They come in, and it's for transparency and accountability. And we meet quarterly, and we have since 2016 met quarterly. And so all of those meeting minutes, there's a map on there that shows all of the roadways that we'll be getting to year by year. Everything, all of the information you're looking for is on there. We're actually working with asset management and IT right now to put a story map on. It's in test right now. It's a really cool feature that you'll be able to go to, and it'll have everything to see on it. And you can click through, and it'll run through with these automated videos and all kinds of statistics and everything else. So that'll be coming shortly to the website. So yeah, if you go to the Colorado Springs website, Public Works page, it's all right there.
Corey, we have another one over here.
Corey, I'm just wondering, this morning when I was driving to work, trying to go around the Woodman Valley Church, and then you try to go east on Woodman, is there any way to coordinate with traffic engineering? And, you know, they've cut off the 2 turn lanes to just 1, and that the traffic, again, was backed up around Woodman Valley all the way to the west. And I'm just thinking, there's certainly room to be able to, you know, put 2 turn lanes in, temporarily, I realize, but no one goes straight, typically at 8 o'clock in the morning, we're all heading east to go to work, or even I'm more concerned about the high school kids driving, to be honest with you, because I probably have a little more patience than they do. But anyway, is that a possibility to work with them operationally to get, we maintain that 2-lane turn onto the eastbound Woodman?
So we do, our contractors, all of our contractors are required to put in a traffic control plan. They have to put in for that permit and put their plan in with traffic engineering, and it is approved by traffic engineering. So the traffic setup that you see out there has been approved by traffic engineering and is inspected by traffic engineering. What I will do is I'll go talk to our traffic engineer and ask the question for you and see if there's something that we can do to open up a second turn lane. I have a new high school driver myself. I understand.
Thank
so
you.
yeah, I can go talk to traffic and see if that's a possibility to make some kind of change there to make that a little better.
Just temporarily.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
as long as the barricades are the way they are, it's creating
Absolutely.
quite a frustration for drivers.
Just a quick question.
And Barry, would you stand up? I just wanted to introduce Barry Baum. I don't think he's going to say his own name or anything, but Barry serves on a few different committees, boards and committees for the city, and he is he's a real attention to detail kind of guy. He's on audit committee and which other ones? Any others?
Several other special committees that we're doing.
So he is, like, those of you who are kind of suspicious and you think the city is up to no good, this guy, I mean, honestly, is a sleuth trying to figure that stuff out. So he's your neighbor. I'm kind of curious to see what his question is. But
No, this is an innocent question. I'm just not clear, as you go up West Woodman, there will be curbs and gutters on both sides. Will there be sidewalks on both sides?
Okay, so there won't be curb and gutter on the north side. The curb and gutter and the sidewalk will be on the south side of the road. That'll be going through there. And again, that's, city engineering has come up with a plan. They partnered with traffic to come up with that plan. We're sitting down with them so that we understand the plan, and our contractor will be putting it in. But the plan is, it belongs to engineering. So, yes,
I'm afraid we'll do this last one, then we're gonna wrap up on the roads and go on something else.
Corey, on the sidewalk, can you be specific about how far it's going to go west Woodman?
Okay, so we have a meeting on Tuesday to go over engineering's plans on that, so I really wouldn't want to speak to where exactly it's going to go and tell you misinformation. I believe it'll start up, I'm trying to remember the name of the road, Carlson now? Yeah, maybe Carlson. I think beyond Dairy Ridge. So I think it'll be Carlson. There's going to be improvements along that entire stretch.
Okay.
As far as
so compared to basically where it is on the Woodman Valley Church side.
Me.
There's a side.
Again, I'm meeting with the engineer from engineer on Tuesday.
I just don't want people to get the impression that we're going to get sidewalks all the way down there.
Right.
You know, from Rockland to.
Right. I do not believe it's going to be one continuous sidewalk all the way.
It'll switch.
Yep. So, I was just going to say I'm going to leave some cards on the table. I am happy to sit down and
to talk with anybody, email, phone, I'll come out to the field, you can come to the office. But happy to talk more about this and anything else you want to talk about related to maintenance, and I can bore you to death on all of it. But I'm going to leave some cards up here. Anybody that wants to take one and reach out after the meeting is great.
What we'll do is after that meeting on Tuesday, Corey will send me an email with the summary, maybe answering that exact question, and I'll forward that on to Kristen Peterson, and she can send it out to all the folks here. I do want to thank Corey, and you can see why you got to have him here to answer a lot of these questions, because it's very detailed. One of the things I want you to know and remember is that the way that the roads get rated and prioritized for maintenance or replacement is based on the condition of the roads. It's not who you know in city government. What's that?
It's not the number of emails we send.
Well,
we might be adding that.
I mean, honestly, sometimes something's missed, and so it is fine. That's what part of my job is for you to email me and say, hey, is this right? And sometimes something can get changed, but in general, my point is, it's not, hey, that guy knows the mayor, and they paved his street, and ours is way worse. That is not the way the system is, and I have a lot of respect, and Corey does a great job. And again, thank you for being here. So finally, what I wanted to do is, it'll be similar to what we've been doing. It's really going to be a chance for you to speak. It's kind of like citizen comment. We have that. City Council regular session meets the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. And any of you can come to that. It starts at 10 o'clock in the morning, second and fourth Tuesday of every month. And you will get 3 minutes to speak. That comes up probably about 10:20, 10:30, that happened. But I know when we met for the Blodgett Peak presentation, there wasn't a chance for citizens to do that, stand up and ask a question or speak. So one of my ideas was that is not what this part needs to be about, but if you wanted to say something, Britt is here to listen, not really to answer questions. She passed out those frequently asked questions. I haven't seen that yet, it just came up on the website today. Hopefully that answers some of them. I can tell you this, that your input up to this point, all those emails that you sent about Blodgett, have made a difference. It had an impact. As you saw, that the second version of that plan is different. Some of the things have changed. It can still change before the Parks Board approves it. And then there's even an appeal after that if that was something citizens felt like they needed to do. Britt, when is the next Parks Board meeting? Do you want to say? You want to just give the dates and stuff?
Sure, and thank you everyone for being here tonight. And thank you to Councilmember Donelson for having these meetings. These are really important. He works so hard. We see this all the time. So one thing I wanted to let you guys know is after that neighborhood meeting that we had, and Councilmember Donelson was there, we took public comments and the survey, and so there are still some changes that are coming beyond the changes you've already seen. And so that's going to be posted next week on that same project page, the next iteration of the draft plan as it's changed because of citizen comments. So make sure that you're watching that project page. My project manager, David Diedemeyer, told me that that would be posted next week. So I'm excited about that. He met with me about a few of the items that we hear about, the trailheads, the parking, the idea. Raise your hand if you're an automatic gate person. Thank you. Thank you. Can I just share with you guys that we started gating different places such as Palmer Park first, then Garden of the Gods. Excuse me, I'm a little allergies today. So, and then and the latest one that we've done is Memorial Park with a grant for gates. And Memorial Park has 19 different entrances. Oh, thank you. And those are great. our rangers come, they open, and then we have a security company close. But the unfortunate thing is it's really, really expensive to have a security company come sweep the park, get everyone out, and then close the gates. And so I do really like that idea of the automatic gates, just to give you an idea of how expensive for the one park, Memorial Park, it's going to be $45,000 a year to do that. So I'm really eager to look into those. I think if it could work, I think we'll have to have sturdier gates than your typical automatic gate. So we're going to be looking into that, and I appreciate that idea. So things like that really do help us. I appreciate it very much. You'll see some changes in that draft plan go up on the website. I think that will probably happen, and this gets to the question. Next week on Wednesday, the Trails, Open Space, and Parks Working Committee, which is 9 citizens, will meet, and they will hear a presentation on the plan, the changes, and all of those things. And I believe that's about the time that we're going to be putting that revised, the next revision up on the site. The following week, and I think that's something like the 12th, Parks Board will also receive the same presentation with all the changes. And then a month later, in April, the first Wednesday of April, the TOPS Working Committee will make a recommendation, and they'll take all the comments. And then also Parks Board, the following week on Thursday, will do the same thing. So a sequence next week, the following week, and then a sequence in April. First Wednesday and the second Thursday. So you can watch for all of those things, but take a look at the plan and see, the changes that have been made. We tried to summarize to make it easy. The one thing I do apologize about, and I just hate about these plans, they're thick. They have tons of information, and it is a slog, isn't it, to read through them. So we've tried to put some pop-out boxes and make it just a little bit easier for everyone, so you can see what we did change and ask us and ask our project manager. I'm here tonight. I really want to hear. I'm going to listen. I'm going to write down notes. And again, thank you. The final thing I want to say is this community, I so appreciate the way that you guys do public comment. Because at the Parks Department, our staff is not always treated really well when we're out in the public. Because people are enthusiastic, they may be super energized, they may actually be really angry. But what I can tell you is this neighborhood, the whole Blodgett process, while people have very, very strong opinions, and that is a good thing, they have been respectful, good people. I told Councilmember Donelson I've been so appreciative and impressed with just how the public comment's gone, because people have done it in the best possible way. So thank you for all that.
There are a few copies of the FAQ sheets up at the front table. We only have 1 or 2 left, so take pictures of them if you'd like. They're also posted on the Blodgett website as of this afternoon, so you're more than welcome to look on there as well.
And so with that, we'll kind of open it up to questions or comments. I'd ask you to keep it brief. We've only got about 15 minutes, so if you talk for 10 of them, your buddies don't have any time.
Okay. So wave at me if I get too long.
I'll cut you off.
All right. He's got the clock. All right. Main topic I want to talk about is multi-use trails. When I was at the Trace Church at the previous meeting, hearing conversations, talking with some of the parks for one of the things I heard was that they'd like to have multi-use trails be at least 4 feet wide, so that there's room for hikers and bikers to pass each other. Kind of a rule of thumb kind of thing. We didn't say it was a strict law. On the trails that I hike up in the open space, if I'm pointing in the right direction, there's a lot of those trails that are not even close to that wide. And not only are the trails not that wide, the space around them is not very wide. There are spots where if you're coming up against a biker, you got to either climb up the side or go down the side or climb a tree in order to not run into each other. And so there are some of those trails that really should not be multi-use trails. One instance, the one that starts at the Oak Valley Road Park, the Orchard Valley Road parking lot, and goes on the north side of the ridge. That's very steep terrain, very narrow trail. There's places where it goes in between a rock and a tree and such. That should be a hiking only trail, just for safety's sake.
And all I'd say is that's a great comment. It's very specific. And that's what I would encourage you to do over this next month, is continue to make your thoughts, your concerns known, so that when it comes to a vote at the Parks Committee, they know what you're thinking. A little fact about myself, I used to actually be a trail crew guy in Montana in the Bob Marshall Wilderness. So yeah, I don't think you know this off the top of your head, but are we expecting 4-foot wide trails in there? But you may not know, and I told Rich I was going to have to answer the question because she came.
You know, I think that everybody who hikes up there knows that there's some places where we can achieve that standard, and there's some places, because that's the older part of the open space, where trail maintenance needs to occur so that we can get that wider approach. Sometimes when you're hiking, because of trees and rocks and narrowness, you can't achieve it. And so we are looking at more hiking-only opportunities, and so, you know, I guess that's kind of a spoiler alert, but give it a look when it comes up.
That's a good thing to end on, actually.
Yeah, I'm going to go first and then Sarah go next. But my name is Kate Chukas, and my question really is, why are we putting the cart before the horse in some way? Why are we locking down in an open space plan when really our neighborhood is called District 1A, our neighborhood Peregrine, Mountain Shadows, Cedar Heights, Kissing Camels, Pine Cliff, Rock Rimmon. We're going to go through a whole neighborhood plan in about 12 to 15 months where we as neighbors get to plan and rezone our area. Rezone the industrial out of the Garden of the Gods. Rezone commercial in a different way. We get to do this as neighbors. Why can't we get that plan finalized first and put the parks plan on hold for 15 months until our neighborhood plan can happen? Because we're, as neighbors here on the Northwest Side, we can create input for what our neighborhood should really be about. And so I'd ask for that to happen first before we do the open space. I think Parks has learned a lot about doing community planning with open space. Why don't they go down to Fisher's Peak and finalize that for the next 15 months while we get our plan together for our neighborhood? You can run your parks process down there, get all the great input from those folks, run it, lock it down, and then come back here and do Blodgett. That's my
And just because that's sort of city council stuff there, Sam or Alex, do you know, is 1A supposed to be done in 12 to 15 months?
We'll have it done in 12 to 15 months to start.
Okay, and I haven't heard that yet. Okay. And now when it starts, how long do those things usually take once they start?
It depends on the project.
What's the range, do you know? I mean, they're pretty long, right?
It's months.
Or a year? But, okay, we jotted that down. Very good. Next.
I stand before you to shed light on pressing issues that concerns the delicate balance of expanding Blodgett Open Space with the surge in visitors and the resultant risk we face in this wild urban interface. One significant concern is the proliferation of parking lots. The increased human presence coupled with the convenience of parking elevates the risk of wildfires, a growing concern in Colorado's dry climate. Just a few days ago, a mere 1.5 miles from North Blodgett, a wildfire erupted on the Air Force Academy, reaching over 168 acres in 48 hours. There was no lightning. One has to question, was this human-caused? The Waldo Canyon fire resulted in an over 3-hour evacuation for residents of Upper Peregrine. Bringing more visitors to Blodgett increases the fire risk and the time to evacuate. In discussion with CSFD last meeting, only North Blodgett has plans for mitigation in the next 2 years. What's the fire risk for all of Blodgett? Has a traffic study been completed during the busy fire season to address these evacuations and concerns? Please be transparent. I find it disingenuous that the original Blodgett draft called for the North Trailhead lot to have an initial expansion of 15 to 20 vehicles with the possibility of future expansion of up to 40, yet the latest draft had 51 spaces. That is 2.5 times more than the original draft. I'd like to know why. For perspective, in Red Rock Open Space Master Plan, a parking survey was conducted to assess the parking use patterns and needs over 3 busy summer weekends. Was a survey done for Blodgett? Be transparent. More perspective, Ute Valley Park is 538 acres with a total of 66 parking spaces. This is 8 acres per vehicle. Red Rock Open Space, including the adjacent Section 16, is 1,500 acres with a total parking of 272 spaces. This is 5.5 acres per vehicle. This leads me to wonder, why push a current plan of 246 parking spaces for a measly 384 acres on Blodgett, much of which is steep and cliff terrain? This brings Blodgett usage to a ½ acre per vehicle. This is nonsense. I request this master plan be scaled way back for reasons of funding, crowding, wildfires, trash, and vandalism. Colorado Springs Park and Rec has a deferred maintenance backlog of over $279 million for existing facilities. That, coupled with low park ranger oversight due to staffing concerns, Blodgett Open Space will not maintain its pristine landscape, nor will this project ensure safety to its visitors and surrounding neighborhoods. With such a financial deficit, where is Parks and Rec coming up with $7 million for the Blodgett expansion? It is our collective responsibility to strike a balance between providing access to these beautiful areas and preserving them for generations. Let us work together to safeguard our wild urban interface, ensuring that the growth of our city harmonizes with the preservation of our cherished natural landscapes and its safety to its people. Thank you.
Hey, Alex, just let me say just a couple words before we go on. And I met with David Diedemeyer last week. And I don't know what, Britt said there are going to be some adjustments to the plan. I don't know exactly what those are going to be. He was kind of receptive to one of the parking lots being maybe possibly scaled back more. I don't know. The rock quarry, it's initially 50. And 50 parking spaces there.
And this was total per phase.
You're right at the very end. You mentioned funding. One thing about this is it is dependent on funding, and Parks doesn't have a lot of funding. So these long-term maximum things, just because of finance, may be pretty far down the road. But I know you want changes in the plan, so I encourage you, the emails to the Parks Board, speaking at Parks Board, speaking at Council, emails to Council. Those are the things you can still do to change it. You won't be able to change anything tonight, but your statement to those folks who are going to be voting it's important. It can make a difference.
I'd like to know about the wildlife impact. We're just getting back animals again from our Waldo Canyon fire. So what's the impact going to be on them? We keep encroaching on their land.
Yeah. And again, the jack of all trades here, the master of none. That is addressed, and I talked to David Diedemeyer about that. I think maybe one of the frequently asked questions addresses that. So express that concern to the Parks Board. If it ends up looking like it's coming to Council, express it to Council, or do it anyway, so that we're kind of aware of your concerns. I'm not here to defend anything, because I don't know what the final plan is going to look like. I can tell you they're trying to balance, you understand this, they're trying to balance human activity versus maintaining a good environment for the wildlife, which we all love. And that's
Right,
really
but I
why
just
we're
don't
here.
see that happening. All the
Okay.
trails and parking and people.
And that's something that we've received a lot of emails about. Let's see what that plan is, the final plan. Go ahead, Alex.
Hey, I'm also Alex. Nice to meet you all. I live in Oak Valley. I moved here a little less than 2 years ago. And I moved here and I bought my house specifically because of Blodgett Open Space. So I thought I'd share a different perspective than I've heard a lot. I've been coming to the meetings all along, and I really enjoy hearing everyone's concerns. Something I feel has been missed is that as neighbors, we feel that Blodgett belongs to us, but Blodgett belongs to everyone in the city. Those in Old Farm and Black Forest just as much as it belongs to us. And we need to remember to think of those voices, the ones that aren't here in this room. In addition to that, we need to understand that we won't always be here. Someday, someone else will be living in your home when you're gone, and and those people have different needs than are represented today. With that in mind, there are a few things that I really care about with Blodgett, and I think we can strike a balance, but the important ones are that we do need expanded parking. People parking all over the roads is unacceptable. People parking in our neighborhoods and using the trails is also an issue. Secondarily, the current status quo of the trails, there are a lot of legal and social trails, and we need to fix that. We need consistent infrastructure, and we need people to go on the established routes, and that will help our wildlife concerns. And then finally, I think it's critical that we separate the hikers and the bikers with hiking only and biking only trails. Without that, it's only going to become more dangerous. I'm a Colorado native. I've lived my entire life in the Front Range. I have seen this exact issue happen in other open spaces that I have loved. The overcrowding, the increased traffic, the parking, the bikers versus the hikers, it happens everywhere. We're in a tough spot. People are not going to stop coming. People like me are not going to stop moving here for this open space, and people will not stop driving here to use this. We need to find a balance between these things as we work together, and I hope that you can take a little bit of that perspective into your own thoughts as we all move forward and make this open space better for everyone.
Okay, sir, thank you. We'll do two more questions, and then we got one up front, and we're gonna wrap it up.
I'd like to start by sharing a statement from one of my neighbors, Martha, whose property backs to the Blodgett Open Space, as well as immediately faces the current quarry. And I quote, "I made 2 promises when I retired. One was to move back to Colorado, and 2 was to get a dog. I bought my house not because it was a great house, but the open space behind me sold me. Perfect for walking my dog and enjoying Colorado. I did my homework and knew it was designated to be a mountain bike park. That was okay by me because it's a quiet sport and I'm all for the kids being outside enjoying Colorado instead of staring at a screen. I realized that neighborhood safety is a primary concern. I was appalled at the last meeting when the suggestion of night lights in the parking lot was an option. Light pollution affects bird migration and the insects they eat, along with the breeding mammals. We've had so many discussions about wildlife, and now we want to harm them? To be selfish, I don't want to see lights when I'm sitting out at night staring at the stars. I'm hoping that you fulfill your promise to me and that I won't be staring at a parking lot during the day. A law needs to be passed that mountain bikes need to have a sound warning on them," which on my own personal side note, I agree, having had to jump off the trail multiple times. "All of us are sick of almost getting run over. You have increased the amount of shared trails and decreased the hiking-only trails. It's dangerous. I'm sure this is also a statewide program." Also noted today, she saw that one of the foothills was being torn down in the quarry area and is concerned about the change. And is concerned about the change in landscape. On my own personal note, I further wish to add that I vehemently oppose all possibilities of a visitor center, restrooms, thank you, enlarged parking lot, and paragliding along the Blodgett Open Space. This neighborhood is our home and sanctuary, not a tourist destination. The beautiful thing about Colorado and where we live is the natural scenery and all its tranquility. Increased traffic not only increases road hazards, but takes away the privacy and safety of people's homes. I am not aware of any discussion of funding for the maintenance of trails, gate closures, and surveillance of parking lots. The many mule deer that regularly travel around our area will also be at risk of bodily harm due to increased traffic. The city's funds would be better spent. For funding and maintenance of the public parks that already exist. Caring for urban parks would benefit a larger part of the Colorado Springs community.
Hey, ma'am, thank you. If there's a question, I think that would be good. If not, you have the microphone, and then we'll have one final question up here, Alex, and then we're going to be done. I'll be here, you talk to me, though.
In 2007, the USDA-FS did a comprehensive scientific study of the bighorn sheep, Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep, and it included recommendations for specific herds, including the rampart